Welcome, everybody, to the official start of 2023 here at Post Wrestling. There is only one way to properly turn to a new calendar year, and that is with the annual MMA Prediction Show, a show that has spanned multiple companies that I have worked for, multiple regime changes, and here we are, the man that joined us from year one at Post Wrestling, and we are proud to say the 10th anniversary of the MMA Prediction Show, going back to January of 2013, when this man joined me on his cell phone on vacation, taking time out to participate in the first of many MMA prediction games to come. Ariel Helwani, welcome back to Post Wrestling.
The year doesn't officially begin until we do this. Number one, I remember being on the beach in 2013 when we did that. That's pre-Zoom, so we had to do it either via cell phone or, I guess, Skype. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I'm kind of blown away by that. I can't believe we've been doing this longer than my own MMA Hour Awards. Kind of blown away by that. But I do look forward to it. And for everyone that is wondering at home, yes, John emailed me the invitation to come on, did not text. Still the only person out there that uses email to invite people on his show. I sure don't do that. I haven't done that in maybe 8-9 years. And so here we are. And I honestly, I don't know what I'm more excited about. Am I more excited to see how I did, or am I more excited to see the questions that you'll throw my way? I kind of lean towards the former because it's always fun to recap the year and see how I did.
We're going to get to your percentage, but let me ask you, when I did send out the email to confirm you a few weeks back,
Yes.
and then I sent you a reminder on a Monday at 1:56 p.m. Eastern time, and you did get back to me. Was this a faux pas? I would not text you at such an hour on a Monday from 1 till 5 p.m., but an email during that time, what was that overstepping?
Well, here's the bigger faux pas. The bigger faux pas is you not knowing that I didn't have a show on that Monday.
That would be accurate. That would
Right,
be
right. So there you go. So we were off on that Monday. So that's why I replied to you so quickly. What do you think I'm replying to you in the middle of my show? We were off on January 2nd, Monday. That's why I replied so quickly. And so, yes, it would have annoyed me had you texted me. Not even annoyed, because you're not
I
one of
would
those
not have
people.
texted you during your show, but an email during the show, I feel that's less informal. That's at your convenience to get to.
Sure, I do stare at it for a while, and I have OCD, and I like to have my emails. I currently have 41, and that drives me nuts. So I will get to 0 by the end of the day. I have OCD about this sort of thing,
Is
but
that number of emails or unread emails?
unread.
Okay.
A lot of it is spam though. But you wouldn't believe. I mean, there's people like TST, my longtime producer now, who texts me regularly during the show. In fact, I believe he waits until the show starts to ask me questions, which drives me up the wall. So no, you didn't do anything wrong except for not knowing. You claim to be a fan of the program, yet you didn't know that we were off on that Monday.
My week has been off, but
Okay.
I've definitely put my foot in my mouth right off the top. So we're off to a rousing start here on the MMA Prediction Show. But we are happy to have you back, Ariel. And just to put a bow on 2022, this was a
yes.
year where you were both very much on top of the world in mixed martial arts, but very much, I would say, you're most involved in professional wrestling as well.
Yes,
You
yes.
created some friends, you created some enemies, and you became, honestly, in both industries, like there are elements where you have become a news story. Are you comfortable in that role that you have seen? Because you were like the subject of many stories this past year.
Yeah, I mean, you're always taught and told, and I always believe in this, that you're not supposed to be the story, right? I think you subscribe to this as well. Um, Over time, though, so much of what I do is me sitting in front of a microphone, and over time, I have gotten more comfortable sharing my opinion, weighing in on things, and so I do think that I have this balance of interview guy, news guy, but also opinion guy, and I think that just speaks to media in 2022, 2023. Like, it all kind of has evolved, and I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing multiple hats. I think that you know if you wear just one hat, you're kind of selling yourself short. So do I want to necessarily be the story? No, I'd rather not. Do I like weighing in on stories? Sure. What has happened sometimes over the past years, I weigh on a story and that becomes a story, and I guess you could say that's the byproduct of just being popular and people watching you. In MMA, I don't think that necessarily became a thing. It certainly did become a thing in pro wrestling, in particular with the AEW stuff. But that was a really weird thing, just because I had been praising them for months, and then I say one negative thing and they all get so so defensive about it. But yeah, no, I mean, I certainly, I think people know me by now. I'm not a hot take artist. I don't seek this. I don't want it, but I am comfortable enough, if it's for the right reasons and not obviously some sort of scandal or controversy, that it will happen over time, just because of all the time that I spend in front of the camera.
Is it something as well that I think where, I mean, I would certainly have the same kind of frustrations as you when you see figures that, I mean, your whole thing has been that if you have a negative opinion of my work, fair game. But when there's lies, I
Yeah.
mean, that to me is the point. It's very tricky where I don't think you want to necessarily have to be confrontational, but you are defending yourself. And I think that that is where, you get this narrative attached to you and people run with this if you don't get your response out there. So I certainly sympathize with that
Yeah, and I
reaction
have the
that you have had.
platform, right? I used to take the high road all the time, and I used to let people, and this really became a problem for me at ESPN, where I was like asked multiple times not to say things, and that's really, really frustrating. So I just don't do that anymore. But I'm not engaging. I try to use my words very wisely, and I try to never ever make it personal. But man, I think, as I've exemplified over the past year, I'm not going to let people lie. I'm not going to let people make things up about me, because we have seen how lies can become truths, right? We've seen how these things can spread, and I just don't want that to happen to me, especially when I'm in the right. So yeah, I'm gonna stick up for myself, and I would urge everyone to do that.
Did you find any appreciable difference, with the pro wrestling audience versus the mixed martial arts audience? Did you see a lot of crossover just in terms of how they, took to your content and just delving more and more into the two industries? Because this past year is probably the most you've been involved on the pro wrestling front.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, especially with the BT stuff. Obviously, in MMA, I have over a decade's worth of, content and, relationships and, just sort of equity with the audience, right? So I think that says something, like when the Patty stuff happens or the Brendan Schaub stuff happens, like I think that the fans know me a lot better, so they have my back. The wrestling fans, to a degree, don't know me. The ones who are like specifically wrestling fans, they don't know me as well. And so it's funny to read some of the things that they say about me, or, uh, when they're trying to form an opinion on me, clearly not knowing who I am. Um, that is that is obviously different. But for the most part, we're talking about like one little incident. I would say the BT stuff, the Triple H interview, and some of the other sit downs from the past year, Charlotte Flair, etc. Like those all were really, really, I think, well received. And I feel like it was really cool to see like people who I didn't have any sort of relationship with either DM me or tweet me and be like, wow, I know this person, right? Like these are, active wrestlers who I've never met, but I know of. I'm like, wow, they appreciate the work. They would say really nice things after the interviews. Let's be real. Like, I'm there for a broadcast partner, and there's not a ton of traveling wrestling media, right? Um, and it actually reminds me a lot of the early days covering the UFC, where there's not a ton, and maybe the quality isn't quite the same as in the other major sports, and so it was really nice after some of these longer sit downs, where I'm talking to someone who I could tell doesn't know me beforehand. Like you could tell when someone knows you and they don't know you. And afterwards they'd be like, wow, I really enjoyed that. I was like, yeah, well, thank you. I, obviously came prepared, and was looking forward to this and tried to ask, thought provoking questions. So that was nice. But it's always tricky when you're like established in one sport and then you try to cross over into another sport. There's obviously a big crossover between the two, but I enjoyed the challenge. The same I enjoy it when I did NBA stuff for ESPN or a little bit of boxing stuff this past year. I don't just want to be the MMA guy, so I am not shying away from that. But it is funny to read people's, opinions and thoughts and tweets and stuff on you when they clearly don't know who you are, as opposed to the MMA fans who at least have 10 plus years of, you know, opinions on me. Like I said, equity on me and all that stuff. It is funny to see the difference.
Well, we are going to get into.
Oh, can I just say one more thing? I apologize for interrupting. One big thing that I should have said was it was this even comes up with the BT stuff because that's usually WWE related. And to steal a phrase from our friend Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the tribalism. I had heard about it, but I was never subjected to it. Right? There is none of that in MMA. Meaning there's no like pro hardcore UFC fans and pro hardcore Bellator fans, and there are certainly fans, and I have heard since day one, oh, you're a shill for this, but it is totally different in MMA. Excuse me, in pro wrestling. Like there's the pro WWE, the pro AEW, the normal people like you and I, and like we all watch and like everything. But I had never been subjected to that tribalism, which I think is a fascinating thing. And I kind of wish there was some of that, and maybe not to the extreme, some of that to a degree in MMA, where there were like massive, passionate fan bases of all the different leagues. Being subjected to that was a really interesting experience.
One last thing on this, because it is like an interesting position here where, and you explained this in length at your show, but going back to Extreme Rules, this was the show Daniel Cormier was involved with, and they asked you to voice the video package for, and you were not compensated for this. But was that something that you believed that I'm going to get some grief for this, or was this unexpected that there was going to be a pocket of people who look at it that way? And conversely, like if this was a scenario in MMA, do you draw a further line given that is your day-to-day coverage as a reporter on the
yeah, that's a great question. I'm happy you asked that because I saw because the AEW Tony Khan thing happened around that time, which was crazy timing. They asked me to do that, and I said right away that I didn't want to get paid for it. That I was just, here's the difference. Like I'm a lifelong pro wrestling fan, right? This reminds me of my childhood. So to hear myself or to be a part of this is a bucket list thing, right? For someone like stuff. I don't consider myself a wrestling journalist like you, like Way, like Sean Ross Sapp, like Meltzer, like Brian. I don't consider myself a wrestling journalist. Even when I do the sit downs, I think that I am practicing journalism. I think that I'm interviewing all that stuff. But as you know, like I don't cover the wrestling beat. And I don't really have an interest in covering the wrestling beat. So, by the way, initially they said, like, you're silly, take the money, why wouldn't you? And I was like, no, I just feel better about this because I have the experience of blurring those lines. I would never do it in MMA. I feel very strongly about that. But, and I've actually turned it down recently, multiple times post the UFC Fox thing, but like it has come up a lot, and there have been times where I'm like, should I just stop having, like, who am I answering to here? But this is just a thing that I don't want to blur these lines. Okay. In pro wrestling, I don't view myself in the same way. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't know if that like disappoints people or even even how you feel about that, but I don't view myself as a pro wrestling journalist. I do think that I like I said, I practice journalism when I'm asking questions, and I try to take it very seriously. Like the Triple H interview, I'm very proud of it, but I didn't feel like that was breaking any rule because I just don't view myself as a wrestling journalist. Now I'm a fan. I'll talk about it on my show. I'll do the interviews. I do the stuff for BT. I'm sort of a hired gun for them. I did re-sign with them, by the way, so that is good. I'll be doing Rumble
is that an exclusive?
That is an exclusive, yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Are you going to Inglewood in April for WrestleMania?
Oh yeah. Will you be there?
I will not, I don't think. But I am going to Montreal in February for Elimination Chamber, which should be a very. Let me know if you go. Me and Way are going to go out for that one. It's just tough. Like WrestleMania, it's honestly a lot easier to cover at home, and it's just it's a big trip to undergo. We don't have the ESPN funds behind us, but nonetheless, it is.
Hey, neither do I, by the way.
Well, you're a big mover and shaker. You know what I mean?
Yes, I am. I'm going to the Rumble as well in San Antonio. So I usually go to the the tentpole ones. Anyway, I don't consider myself. And it's funny. I've actually thought of this I thought of this after the Extreme Rules thing. So it's funny. I'm sorry for rambling here, but
I appreciate this answer, and you're obviously
the Extreme Rules thing. I actually agreed to that, believe it or not, before I knew DC was involved, and I hadn't said yes yet. And then when I saw that he was involved, I was like, oh man, this is just too perfect. I actually really wanted to go, but I was going to Toronto and Buffalo for this big weekend for my birthday, so I didn't. And I watched it, and it was great. And after I saw the reaction, but also after I watched it, and I saw that like the bells and whistles that they put on it on the package, the joy that I felt was so immense that I was like, wow, like I'm so excited about this, and it makes me feel a certain way. It was the first time, honestly, in a very long time. I did apply in 2005, where I was like, I wonder what, like, is this a bucket list thing for me? Like, do I need to do this at some point? Like ESPN was a bucket list thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And doing NBA was a bucket list thing. And by the way, when I say bucket list, I'm talking about like doing something in pro wrestling more so than the BT stuff. Like, do I really need to pursue this? Because I just derived so much joy from it, and it was just so fun to be a part of the show. And I was like, wow, do I actually need to pursue this? So anyway, those are my thoughts. I don't know if you feel any differently or you were disappointed. It seemed like my friends Alvarez and Meltzer were disappointed in me, but what are you gonna do?
Listen, I look at you and your compass when it comes to journalistic ethics, I rate extremely high, like near the highest. Like I have privately sought out your advice on different things. So I look at that. To me, like I'm just gonna say personally myself would not do that.
Yeah.
But I can also understand like you and I are in different positions when it comes to professional wrestling, and I think similar to you that you would not cross that line for UFC, which is your day-to-day coverage.
Yeah, I mean, you do a completely different thing than I do, and that's fine. And we all have to, look at ourselves in the mirror. It was an interesting thing, and again, the timing of it all was just wild, right? Like I do the Tony thing, it was like all within a week, crazy. But who knows? Maybe I'll show up as a manager or something.
All possible.
Why
DC,
not?
Josh Barnett. I mean,
Why not
all
me?
open possibilities. Are the children still? Where's the wrestling fandom? Has it dipped? Are they all like Buffalo Bills, World Cup fever?
Dipped would be putting it very,
Oh
very
boy,
mildly.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. They did stumble upon John Cena returning this past Friday, or 2 Fridays ago.
Time flies. Yeah.
Yeah. They did stumble upon that. You will learn this as your kids get older, and you probably experience a little bit of this. Kids, maybe it's a boy thing. I don't know. My daughter's still a little young to like. They get into things and then they really get into things,
Oh,
right?
dude,
Like,
it's
yeah.
my household is Sonic and the Wiggles between a
Okay.
5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
There it is. So Sonic will maybe evolve into Pokemon, will maybe evolve into maybe evolve into wrestling when you see, So there was a period, summer of 2020, where it was all wrestling. Like I'm telling you, we're going to the stores, we're buying, I mean, we have like 50, 60 toys. We're buying like Nakamura toys, and we're buying this and that, blah, blah, blah. That is non-existent. Now the heart, like, and it's actually kind of exciting for me, is they love soccer so much that they tell me things. Like they tell me who won, they tell me who's on whose team. Like they're following it, which is great because when I was their age, I used to do the same about basketball. So that's the thing now. And yeah, it was fun while it lasted. I do blame one of their best friends had, and I say this to them, so I'm not talking behind their back. Their best friends, they got their best friends into it, so they have best friends who are their age, and I think the parents weren't too happy about it. And I think the parents planted a seed that it was fake. And I think that burst the bubble very, very quickly. And I tell the parents, I'm like, you could have just let this go on for a couple more years so I could enjoy it. We had one WrestleMania. And the one WrestleMania that we watched live, by the way, was the freaking one in Tampa where they had the rain delay. So we had this big party and they had to kill 45. And I'm like, oh, it's already getting late. And now I have to listen to bad promos from the guys to kill time. Maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time here, so
Yes,
we're gonna dive into things. Just a quick refresher from year one. Some of the predictions I threw out to you in 2013 included Michael Bisping challenging for the middleweight title. That would come years later.
What I say? True or false?
You said likely. You said
Wow.
likely. Okay. Anderson Silva being middleweight champion by the end of that year on New Year's Eve. You said likely, but then a certain New Yorker named Chris Weidman, a former background guest to John Vellante, made his way onto the scene. Johnny Hendricks getting a title shot before the end of the year. You said unlikely, but in fact, Johnny Hendricks would get a title fight near the end of the year. You were very high on the idea, the 20th anniversary of the UFC, November 2013, it's got to be the Madison Square Garden debut. Off by 3 years, but it would eventually happen. New York Rick becoming co-host of the MMA Hour. You said unlikely to that scenario, and we're amazed that we were talking about New York Rick on the show.
Yeah.
And your dream guest for a walk and talk in 2013 was Nick Diaz in Stockton, California.
Wow, Nick, not Nate.
Nick, yes.
Yeah.
This was 2013. This was 2 months before the George St. Pierre fight.
A real time capsule.
Very much so. So now we make our way to last year's predictions, and we will give you your score at the end of this, but to give everyone a recap of the last few years. So 2017, you hit 70%. 2018, there was some performance enhancing as Ariel jumped up to 80%. And then 2019, things were just firing on all cylinders, and Ariel Helwani hit 84%.
Wow.
His accuracy was tremendous. But then we were just at the earliest stages of the pandemic, and I could sense Ariel was looking at a long year ahead. 2020 fell to 71%.
Ooh.
And the pandemic persisted throughout the whole year. 2021, again, 71%.
Oh.
So will he break the 71% curse? That's
what I had last year, 71%?
71 the last 2 years.
Jeez.
So we will see how you fare. So do you want to go through the ones? Let's go through the ones you got incorrect first. Okay. I will tell you it is a shorter list than the ones you got correct. The New York Knicks miss the NBA playoffs, and they would, in fact, you said unlikely to this. They finished 11th.
This is me, choosing with my mind, not my heart, blah, 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 or opposite.
10 or more UFC fight nights take place outside of the UFC Apex. This was a year ago. Ariel saying, of course. I mean, we're getting back to crowds. We got to get at least 10 shows.
How silly.
8 times did a fight night take place outside of those walls. I know you have a soft spot for the UFC Apex, but they did not hit double-digit figures of fight nights. How about this one? In January, I giving you the scenario that a Paul brother wrestles at WrestleMania in Texas.
Wow.
And you said, no way, unlikely. There was no way Logan or Jake would stoop to such a level.
Did I say that? Wow. That's crazy in retrospect. And at the time, Logan wasn't even signed, right?
No, he was not. They didn't start that. I'm trying to remember because I began to hear whispers of that, but I honestly believe I was not aware of that one when I gave that scenario.
Oh, you're saying you asked me with knowledge?
I don't think I did have knowledge, not that early in the year. Nate Diaz becomes a free agent.
Oh, and I said unlikely.
You said unlikely.
What the hell? I was talking about that story all year. This is crazy. Are you sure you're not mixing up likely and unlikely?
This is the record. This is the note of record. Max Holloway moves to the lightweight division. You did say likely. Stipe Miocic fights. Not a fight from Stipe throughout 2022. And the last one, an on-the-record interview with Nikisa Badarian. Did not happen in 2022.
What did I say, likely or unlikely?
You said likely. I always get you with those interviews because you never say unlikely to an interview potential.
By the way, got pretty damn close. End of the year.
Ooh, end of the year
got pretty damn close. It might not even be that far away, to be honest. So I almost got that right.
In studio?
Has to be in studio.
I think you have to do a lengthy one with him. I mean,
yeah.
Yes,
I don't know if a lot of people would appreciate how big of an interview it would be, but I think the real insiders would.
I think it'd be one that maybe there would be a bit of like, who is this guy? But it would be the talk of the industry afterwards. If he just like opens the doors of what he is willing to talk about. But are you ready to sit back? I hope you have a drink for all the ones you got correct. Are you ready?
Oh,
for
yeah.
This?
Here we go.
This is just your ego is just going to grow and grow from this.
Let's go.
The Toronto Raptors miss the NBA playoffs. You were correct. They were number 10 in the East.
Wait,
is this correct?
No.
They have to be. Wait a minute. What did I say here? The Toronto Raptors miss the NBA playoffs. Do I have this wrong?
They did not make the playoffs.
Yes.
If my memory serves me correct, but I think they were below 10.
I have something else written here. Finished 5th, out in the first round to Philadelphia. Does that sound
you're
correct?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So
I have this down as correct. I should definitely have reread this one.
So what did I say?
I just have you had said unlikely that they would miss the NBA playoffs. They made the playoffs.
Did worse than 71%.
No. You got this correct. You got this correct. Okay. I have worded this wrong, but you got this one right.
All right.
Major League Baseball opening day happens on time. This was the threat of the work stoppage, but they did in fact start on time. So you were optimistic there and correct.
Can I be honest? It was actually like a few days later.
Don't tell me that.
I swear.
Was it really off by a day?
It was off by like 4 or 5 days. Like it was supposed to start on a Sunday and it started on a Thursday or something. It was off. So the whole calendar was off. The World Series ended later, All-Star game ended later, but by like less than a week. So I did not get that right.
Is your
less than 71%?
Is your confidence in me dropping as we continue?
I don't know what's going on here. You're like the Doug Crosby of unlikely.
Ouch. Well, I only had like 10 seconds to put this all together, and it takes 5 seconds to write down these scenarios. So that really only gives me half a second to judge. Phil Jackson returns to work for an NBA franchise. You said unlikely. Easy. And Phil Jackson remaining on the sidelines. Will we see him? He is, I think, 77 years old now. Is he done with 11 rings?
I mean, maybe he's like a consultant or something, but yeah, he's done.
Head coach time is over.
Yeah.
The Toronto Blue Jays start their season playing outside of Canada. Not a road game, but actually having access in Toronto. You said unlikely to this, and yes, the Rogers Center was open for business.
Oh, yeah.
How about this? Okay, this was all the talk in November of 2019. The Mark Kerr documentary is released by, or the film is released by Dwayne Johnson's $7 production. You said unlikely. Not a peep about this. They made such a big deal about this during that Madison Square Garden card with Dwayne Johnson there to present the BMF title. I've heard nothing about this thing. I think it's just forgotten about completely.
Yeah. Although I am thankful for that announcement because that announcement led to him coming on the show.
That's right. Well, maybe you can send him a follow-up tweet and say, hey, how about an update 3 years later? This is amazing. You have an interview with Syracuse alumni and soon-to-be author Brian Gewirtz.
Wow.
You said likely. I think we knew his book was coming out, so there was a chance that this one...
Did we?
I think, well, I wrote down here soon to be author. So at least the news of that he would be writing a book was out there.
Okay.
But you did. I think Brian Gewirtz, I have never seen somebody do a media tour de force like this guy. He was interviewed by everybody. You were the first interview I saw though of anybody. And he must have, I'm not kidding. He must have done like 45 podcast interviews promoting that book. He went everywhere.
It's the way you got to do it. Did you enjoy talking to him?
I did.
Yeah, it was great. What insight, right? And he seems like a really nice guy. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I made the mistake of saying, hey, could you stop by for like 25 minutes or so? And I put like a time cap on it. I was like, this guy would have sat down for 90 minutes if
why would you do that?
If I had wanted. So, yeah, I saw your interview first. I was like, oh, he got a lot here. So I didn't want to listen because I was like, man, he's going to hit on so many things. But you did a very good job in that interview. Kayla Harrison fights Amanda Nunes. You said no chance. And no, that fight did not occur. Charles Oliveira is lightweight champion at the end of the year. You said unlikely.
Wow.
Charles Oliveira, no title at the end of the year. Combined fights between John Jones and Conor McGregor for the UFC is three or greater. You said unlikely. We didn't get one fight between either of these guys in 2022. Conor McGregor fights for a title. You were not budging. You were not expecting any activity from one Conor McGregor. An unlikely there as well. Bellator's Bantamweight Grand Prix is completed by the end of the year.
Oh.
They had just announced this, and you said unlikely. And we still have a final between Rafion Stotts and Patchy Mix still to come. So, Scott Coker, he loves these Grand Prix, but they take up more than one calendar.
Too much. Too long.
AJ McKee has a boxing fight with Showtime. This was some of his talk after the first Patricio fight. Unlikely, you said, and no boxing fights from one AJ McKee. Then I got a little creative. Exactly 10 years after their fight at UFC 145, John Jones and Rashad Evans become training partners again. All this time later, water under the bridge. No, as a man that was there in the gym for said moment that your broadcaster of choice nearly edited out and totally changed history and would have led to these two being best friends for the rest of time. No, it all came apart at the seams because of you intercepting your editor. An unlikely. And no, Rashad Evans and John Jones, maybe on better terms than 10 years ago, but not training together that we're aware of. Dustin Poirier fights for the UFC welterweight title.
Whoa.
An unlikely from you, not expecting Dustin Poirier to move up in weight class. Daniel Cormier is inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Wow. Nailed it.
Yes, likely. I did not add if you would get a shout out during the speech
and
that you would be there like stinging the rafters, tweeting. Chris Jericho has a wrestling match with Jorge Masvidal in AEW.
Wow.
If you remember, they did this big angle where Masvidal took him out, and this went nowhere. It went nowhere. Like, they did the ATT feud, but Masvidal never came back, and this just went nowhere. It was like
the whole ATT feud kind of just like died, right?
It was odd. It was it got really like Dan Lambert was like entertaining guy, but just in some weird feuds where it was, it just got all muddied. The Paige Van Zandt thing has gone. She's gone. She's just.
Oh, is she out?
She has not been on there for months. I think she did like the one match, and that was about it.
Was it even a singles match?
It was a tag match, as I recall. Yeah. Paige Van Zandt wrestles in AEW. You did say likely. She did do the match, so that was in there. And the last one that you were correct in, Eagle FC lands a TV deal on a notable cable network in the U.S. Unlikely, and Eagle FC.
Yeah, where are they at?
Did not soar on their U.S. rights deal. So there you have it. So of the 25, we're going to give you the Major League Baseball one because I'm not redoing the math here. Right. That was my mistake. 72%. You outbeat last year by a percentage point. Consistency.
I'm taking it as a loss, to be honest. I need to bounce back big.
All right. Well, we have a brand new list put together here, and to honor the 10th anniversary, we're going to do a bonus game at the end. Okay, I'm going to throw that one at you as well. But let us get into things with our likely or unlikely scenarios for 2023. Number one, near and dear to your heart, the Buffalo Bills make it to the Super Bowl. They don't have to win this game. They just have to make it to the big game.
What I'm going to say with these. I will always say likely. I will always say likely.
This is a game of head versus heart.
I know. I can never, ever. Because imagine if I said unlikely and then they made it, people would come out of the woodwork. But I actually believe it this time, so likely.
Okay. Vince McMahon does a sit-down interview.
With?
Anybody.
Wow. I thought you were going to say with me. That would be something.
Well, you would McAfee? Count if you get this. Would McAfee be the most likely? It's kind of weird.
I don't know. What is McAfee's position in the company now? I don't know. Is he supposed to come back?
He is supposed to come back, yes.
He is? Once college football's over?
Done.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll say, wow, that's a tough one. I'll say unlikely.
An unlikely on Vince McMahon doing a sit-down interview.
Would be fascinating. By the way, shout out to WrestleNomics, great podcast. I listened to it on the post-wrestling feed of the recap of all that.
They do a tremendous job. Yeah, Brandon Thurston, Jesse Collins, and Chris Gullo. It's a tremendous show. And yet Brandon on Christmas Day put out a audio documentary going through the whole Vince McMahon story.
Oh, I love the audio
from the past year. I really liked having all of it just together, so you really get
it's amazing.
The whole chronology. It's a fascinating year when you look back, not just the exit, but everything that led up to it and the
Did you produce
changing in power. I was not involved in that. That was all Brandon. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I saw Brandon. I saw him on the Vice Vince.
That's right.
Yeah, he did a great job there too. Shout out.
The XFL has a second season. So it's going to be launching in after the NFL season. This is Dwayne Johnson's latest project. And
could you imagine if, again, they go through just one season? How many times will that be? I'll say likely.
Okay, likely on a second XFL season. The Mark Kerr movie comes out.
Comes out?
How about a trailer, okay? We'll give you a trailer, okay?
Unlikely.
I don't think this thing's ever going to see the light of day.
Unlikely.
Okay. Mark Kerr. We need to find out what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on?
All right. So we are potentially days away from the premiere of this. Power Slap gets a second season on TBS.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. I mean, there's still the potential it might not get a first season. We will see this Wednesday. Dana White and Gary Brecka of 10X Health Systems release a health and or fitness product.
I had no idea who Gary Brecka was until you said 10X. What a bizarre thing. Jeez Louise. What is this world that we're living in? I'll say unlikely.
Unlikely. The quote on the product will be, "Are you someone that gets scammed?"
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing.
Nate Diaz has a boxing fight. The free agent.
Oh my God. I'll say likely.
Likely on the boxing front. Manny Pacquiao fights for Ryzen. He has this boxing fight in a Ryzen ring.
Does that count?
Yes.
Does the boxing exhibition count?
Yes.
Okay. I'll say likely.
Bo Nickel goes undefeated in 2023.
Likely.
Very high on one Bo Nickel.
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan has an MMA fight.
That's a good one. I'll say unlikely.
They were giving him quite the spotlight recently.
Yeah. Really smart with the Fight Pass thing.
He is the guy to if you're going to tap on somebody to cross over, he's the guy to do it with. At the end of the calendar year, AJ McKee is a Bellator fighter.
Wow. That's a great one. I'll say likely.
Kayla Harrison is a PFL fighter at the end of the calendar year.
Man. Unlikely.
Ooh, unlikely. I'm always hoping we'll get some erroneous headline out of this.
God.
Ariel Helwani states.
Yeah. Can I just reiterate that these are
predictions?
Strictly guesses.
This is there's no reporting behind this.
Sometimes you ask me something I know, but like none of AJ, Kayla. I mean, we know Kayla has 2 fights left. She's not going to be in the tournament. Yada yada.
We're going to stay on the PFL subject. PFL runs 2 pay-per-view events or more in 2023.
Unlikely.
2 or more. Unlikely.
We
have heard no numbers from that pay-per-view that I cannot fathom any appreciable number.
I mean, I put the line at like 8K. I'll set the line at that. I'm not sure. I feel like it's an under.
Yeah, it was just not a pay-per-view ready product. I think that's
not a pay-per-view ready product. Not a pay-per-view day. Black Friday. There was a lot going on in sports. They didn't have the names. They didn't. It was just ill-advised. The whole thing was ill-advised.
Is this something where this will be tied to Kayla needing to fight on pay-per-view, or is that strictly it is to PFL's decision of whether they run on pay-per-view or not? Okay. Okay. Here's one that we will see. A tag team match involving Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez.
Unlikely. Is the question a tag team match will happen?
A tag team match will happen, whether it be AAA.
Can you imagine DC and AAA? DC doesn't know what AAA is. He thinks AAA is like the farm system for baseball. No, unlikely.
TJ Dillashaw comes out of retirement. Has the whole year to make such an announcement.
I mean, the question is, does he come out of retirement in 2023, right? Not just in general.
Announces a intention to come back. I guess the barometer would be re-entering the USADA pool.
Yeah. I'll say unlikely. I do think he comes back. I just don't know if it happens this year.
Paige Van Zandt has a wrestling match or a fight.
Or an MMA fight? Or
anything,
boxing, whatever?
Anything. Pro wrestling match, bare knuckle, MMA, boxing.
I'll say likely.
Okay, this is a bit of a trick question. Henry Cejudo retires again. So he comes back and he retires again within this year.
Why is it a trick question?
Well, it's we're still awaiting the return, so to speak, and that he'll go through the whole cycle this year.
Yeah, I'll say unlikely.
Okay,
unlikely that he retires again.
All right, we're now going into your there will be more on this later. But Pat McAfee leaves the WWE.
Pat McAfee leaves the WWE, like meaning he has no ties to them whatsoever?
Yes, he is done as a. We will say he is done as a broadcaster. Maybe he has some loose affiliation with the company, but in terms of a week-to-week talent, that comes to an end. Just too many enticing offers on the table,
Too much
rather
stuff
than
going on.
flying to SmackDown every week.
Now, like if he wrestles at WrestleMania, does that count?
Well, we will. By the end of the year, he is not doing any WWE work.
Period. Not even the SummerSlam match, the one-off Rumble appearance. By the way, do you feel like I feel like he's going to show up at the Rumble? That'd be a pretty good pop, right?
In the Rumble or on the
Like
broadcast?
on the Rumble as one of the 30.
I think that's a totally logical return for him to actually be in the Rumble.
That'd be fun. That'd be actually amazing. I'll say. So wait, how'd you phrase it? I say he does. I say he does have still an affiliation. So is that likely?
Well, it'd be unlikely that he leaves the WWE.
Got it.
We'll put it down there. I think WWE, he is one guy they will bend over backwards and give him whatever he wants. I think they love him and will take him in any.
As they should.
Yeah, 100%. Bellator has a second card on CBS.
Great question. You know, a very underreported story on this whole Bellator CBS thing is, and you may remember him because you pay attention to this stuff. You remember Kelly Call?
Yes.
Kelly Call, longtime CBS programmer / executive, who was really the one who was instrumental in bringing MMA to CBS back in the Elite XC days and then the Strikeforce days. Did you know that I think it's like as of the 1st of this month, Kelly Call has left CBS.
I read about he was leaving the company.
He was instrumental in bringing Bellator, and then shortly thereafter, the announcement was that he was parting ways. So that's a huge story. Like he's like an unsung hero in the history of MMA on network television. And I personally think he's just a great guy. He was always very nice to talk to and whatnot. So that being said, I do wonder if, this one on February 4th is like a one-off because he's not there pushing it. So I'm actually going to say, wait, how did you phrase it?
They have a second card on CBS.
I'll say unlikely.
Yeah, I think it's a very important show for Bellator that I just
feels
think
like there's no momentum, right?
They are so cold, I feel. And, there was the Paramount Network era, and then the thought was, well, they're going to Showtime now. And you see what the audience is. It is a consumer base that they get their MMA fill. And if you're trying to be the secondary company, I just think it's a very steep number 2 that you have. And yeah, we will see how hard that CBS promotes this as well.
It up. They really need to freshen it up. And I know that's easier said than done, but Strikeforce Elite XC, they had women. They had something different, right? They had a different feel. They don't have any of that. They don't have, and even like Strikeforce Elite XC, like they had the Lawlers of the world, the Nick Diaz's of the world. They had a mix of familiar faces, fun fighters, women, like enough different stuff. Bellator just doesn't have enough of that.
They had the Gary Shaw effect.
And Scala, of course.
Of course, Scala. Laura Sanko is part of the commentary team for either a UFC pay-per-view or a UFC fight night on on commentary. Likely. Okay. We will see in 2023. Chris Cyborg has more featherweight title fights in Bellator than Amanda Nunes does in UFC.
Huh. God, that's a really tough one. I mean, it might both be 0.
Yeah, if Cyborg has 1, she might clinch it.
Yeah. I don't know if Bellator is that interested in bringing her back. Like, she keeps talking about it, and I guess they signed Sarah McMahon. I'll say likely, but I mean, talk about something that people just don't really seem to care about, right?
Yeah, these divisions are, hanging on by a thread. It's pretty much these one-fighter divisions, and we'll see. I am actually surprised that they have not, I feel like there are some bantamweights that, God, you move up in weight, you're almost guaranteed a title fight if the cycle works out.
Yeah, but you need someone else. You need a partner. Yeah.
Donald Cerrone is inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Wow. That's a good one. I could see it happen. I think it would be very weird if it happened so soon, right?
And I mean, who is on their Rolodex that would be of
Yeah.
that is a UFC Hall of Fame headliner for them? I mean, they've gone through quite a few.
I'm
It's not
gonna
like
say
this long
unlikely.
list.
Yeah, I'll say unlikely. Too soon. I wonder if Dana still holds a grudge because of the MMAAA thing.
Yes, the remnants of that week in mixed martial
One
arts
of the great
history.
weeks.
I mean, what a
I'm still
just an
not sure if the eye injury was real or not. Remember that? The picture?
yes. This is our yearly discussion. Was it real? If you get one more, if Donald Cerrone sits down with you, that's just a
Yeah.
one question interview, and that's
Was
it.
it real or not? Yeah.
What was this? What happened here? Brock Lesnar is
And
inducted.
also, I just want to know if Bjorn still has the Pride tapes in his garage.
I think they were shipped to Mexico. That's where the tapes are lying. Brock Lesnar is inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
That's an interesting one. Golly.
Do they call out that one?
I mean, you're right. There aren't a ton of A-listers out there. I think Brock should be in the UFC Hall of Fame, to be honest.
They're obviously never doing Frank at this point. I think that ship has gone.
The Jens Pulver one is super weird to me. Like he does stuff for Fight Pass. He seems to be in good, graces with them. The Brock one is a really interesting one. Can you see me now? I'll still say no. Unlikely.
How did you like the ceremony just going there in person this past year?
I will say it was a lot better. It was a lot better because I'd been to some of the previous ones. I hadn't been in the last couple, obviously. It was nicer. Like I thought the set design was cool. It was tighter. I think doing it at T-Mobile is crazy because it was so empty. I think WWE, like I went to WWE's as well. Remember, I was there for Mania, and it was after SmackDown.
So I think is a smart way to do it. I think at
It
this
was
point,
smart, but I will say this: it was smart in that you had a full crowd there in a
Yep.
big arena. It felt less prestigious to me than it being its own night. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had just seen some of these guys like all sweaty in the ring, and now they're dressed up like it. Just something felt off about it. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but I think having it in a smaller, quaint, filled arena or venue, theater, whatever you want to call it, makes a lot more sense than having it at T-Mobile. So I do think they're getting on the right track, and I think Anik does a good job with it and all that stuff. It was weird though because like the Cub was being inducted for Fight, which I thought was too soon, and also his speech. I love Cub, but like his speech was almost like he was being inducted as a Hall of Famer, which is weird to me, right? Then you have Ali inducting Khabib. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I don't know how else to describe it. But I will say, much felt nicer and more regal and bigger than the ones I had been to in the earlier days.
How about on the ground floor at the Fan Expo? You didn't like that aesthetic back in the day when they would induct guys?
At the
Fan
on the
Expo?
Sunday after the event. Yeah, that
You
was
could watch
great.
it on someone's like cell phone.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was even thinking about like when they did it at the Park MGM with Sakuraba. That was a cool one.
Yeah.
When Sakuraba showed up. But even like the stage that time was, yeah. So they've certainly come a long way from the Sunday afternoon at the expo, like when everyone's hung over after the big event. Doing it on the Thursday is the perfect day for it. Remember they had the brief, Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing.
Oh yeah.
Disaster. To me, it was just too much MMA. Friday, Saturday even was a little bit. I like it when there was like an Invicta on a Friday, something smaller. Still don't understand why a Cage Warriors or an LFA or someone like that doesn't do that, but whatever. But doing it on the Thursday to me makes all the sense in the world. I just didn't like it at T-Mobile. It was just too empty,
You could do Power Slap in the afternoon,
Oh, geez.
Hall of Fame at night, and then you go into the pay-per-view on Saturday.
Since we got all meta on like covering things and journalism and ethics, how do you feel about MMA media covering this slap organization? I don't understand why we're seeing this. Why am I getting this on my MMA news feeds?
I can't give you like a strong answer. It's something that I'm going to watch out of curiosity the first episode, but I have no desire to cover this in any way, nor do I feel.
Will you cover it?
No. I'm not planning to at all. Like I would not. I don't have an interest in this, and I think that it's one where I think it's probably just a belief that this is going to somehow have an appeal because Dana White is attached to it, and it's almost like this. It's UFC adjacent, and therefore we cover it. But I think it's very bizarre to be putting resources towards this. Like, if it was a standalone, like, slap fight finals, are we really going to, like, budget to send reporters and
No.
like to cover this, like, on its own?
No one would cover it. No one would cover it. I would even go a step further. I find it very weird that the Nevada State Athletic Commission is sanctioning this,
It's
but
insane.
they won't sanction BKFC. Right?
Right. Yeah.
How's that possible?
I don't get it at all. I don't get it. Like, we have guys that can get knocked out, but then they get a chance to respond with a slap afterwards. Where I don't know. It just seems to me like this will be a Dana White business failure at the end of it. But we'll see.
Cheeto pancakes?
Well, we're going to stay in that same kind of vicinity. The Nelk Boys host alternate commentary on the Contender Series. There's an alternative broadcast
wow.
hosted by the Nelk Boys.
It's actually not a horrible idea, to be honest. And I could see them doing it, but I'll say unlikely.
No. Okay.
Only because I don't see ESPN being okay with it, but I could see like the UFC being for something like this.
All right. Something that you have been preaching throughout the year. One of these promotions, okay? We're going to throw out Bellator, PFL 1, or Cage Warriors. We'll keep it to those four. Experiment with open scoring.
Oh. Bellator 1.
PFL or Cage Warriors.
Not UFC.
Not UFC.
I feel like the one that could do it is 1 because they're going to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say likely.
All right. You're right. 1 would probably be the most likely to try something.
That would be great.
Like
I would love to see that. Imagine DJ's main event title fight at open scoring. That'd be amazing.
DraftKings pulls its sponsorship with the UFC.
Whoa. Because of Krause?
Yes. This becomes a larger story in 2023, and the association with the UFC becomes too much for DraftKings.
Wow. I'll say unlikely.
I thought you guys did a really tremendous job recapping that whole story.
Oh, thanks.
It was like the first
That
hour
was all Connor.
of your show. It was a great job. Again, just taking like all of the different pieces and putting it together in a very easy to digest fashion. Kevin Holland stops a crime from occurring.
Just 1.
Yeah, just 1. At least 1.
I'll say unlikely. Can't happen again. It's too much.
You think I'll have a quiet week? Okay. Or a year.
Year.
Jake Paul teams with Logan at a WWE event.
Ooh. To actually wrestle?
Yes. Not just a cameo appearance like we saw in Saudi Arabia. Does a match with Logan.
By the way, what is the word on Logan? Like, could he wrestle at Mania, or is it too soon?
No, his injury was not as bad as
really?
expected. I could imagine him even popping up in the Rumble.
You're kidding? Did he tear his ACL and all this stuff?
I think that was the fear, and it was less. He didn't tear his ACL completely.
Oh,
so
wow!
I think
he's gone for a year.
No, I think it'll be 100% Mania, and again, would not surprise me if they just want to load up the Rumble with.
Who's the runner-up for like? Sorry, who's the front runner? Sorry, front runner for his Mania opponent.
For Logan Paul, I haven't heard a name with him.
Who would you book him against?
I mean, the way I would prefer is that Logan Paul be a heel.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as a babyface, it's. I think the audience is starting certainly to come around because his performances have been tremendous so far. Like, he has greatly exceeded them.
Yeah.
But he's just such a natural heel that I don't know why they fight this as much as they do.
We do need a payoff to the Miz thing, though, right? Like, it just kind of ended.
Yeah,
he turned on him, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm. You could certainly go back to the Miz stuff, unless you just feel like Logan has.
But the problem is, if you do the Miz stuff, he's the face.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, he is going to probably be a babyface when they return. I feel they will keep him in this role. They've just gone so much towards this. If I can certainly see like some kind of other celebrity involvement. I think that's the appeal with Logan Paul.
Do you think there's any chance they do Logan versus Austin or something like that?
Cena could be in that mix too.
Yeah.
That's always a potential.
Any shot of Cena versus Austin?
To me, that would be a match I would heavily consider.
Have they ever wrestled? Have they ever
No,
been in a
they've
feud?
never done it, and I think like this is probably your only chance to ever do that match.
Oh my god, that would be. Can you imagine Cena, Austin, Rock, Roman?
Yeah.
That'd be the greatest. I mean, Cena, Austin, night 1, Rock, Roman, night 2.
I think they're just throwing everything at the wall for this Mania, and if you don't end up getting Dwayne Johnson to have Austin, that's you have a chance to do something really big. And unlike last year, you can build up this Austin match like significantly. Like you really didn't know you were getting the match until that night, because it was still like up in the air. But this
year, you didn't know you were getting the match until it happened. I didn't think it was gonna.
Like crazy. This year, you could do a proper program and build it up, and it's a year in the making since his last appearance. And him and Cena, like that's a huge match to
likely unlikely Rock Roman.
I'm going to lean ever so slightly unlikely.
Yeah. Likely unlikely Austin Cena?
I'll go likely on that one, sure.
Oh, well, all right.
I can see it. Conor McGregor.
Oh, wait, I didn't answer
you didn't answer this. Jake Paul and Logan.
I'll say likely.
Okay.
Now that I know he's not as seriously injured.
Yeah, I would certainly expect Logan on WrestleMania.
Wow.
Okay. Conor McGregor and Artem Lobov settle their issues, release a non-alcoholic spritzer, water under the bridge.
Oh, it's a great name. That is amazing. I'll say unlikely.
Yeah. You got to give me a few dumb ones that you can easily say unlikely to. Okay, let's stay on the Paul front. Logan Paul wins a WWE championship. Any title.
Any
title in WWE.
I'll say likely.
Okay. Paulo Costa wins the PFL middleweight tournament.
Wow. I'll say unlikely.
Paddy Pimblett appears on the MMA Hour.
I'll say unlikely.
Okay, we're getting to the end here. These are a few last ones. Okay, of all the McMahons in combat sports, the only one to have a match or a fight this year is Sarah. Vince, Shane, Stephanie, Linda, Paul Levesque does not count as a McMahon. Right. Nor would he. You could throw him in there. He's not going to have a match this year.
Yeah.
So of the McMahons, Sarah, the only one to have a match or a fight this year.
Likely.
Okay. ESPN Plus raises the UFC pay-per-view price next December.
Oh my god. I mean, it's crazy. I'll say. I want to say unlikely.
The price, it just stays flat here in Canada. It's great.
Really?
$64.99.
And what is it on? Is it on Viewer's Choice?
It's on. It's like distributed by like Sportsnet pay-per-view, but it's you just get it on your cable provider.
Sportsnet pay-per-view, really?
That's kind of the. I don't know all the technical, but that was a.
Like, how do you order it?
I order it on Fight Pass.
Oh, you could use Fight Pass.
I can use Fight Pass too to just buy it straight off of there. Yeah.
And how much is that?
It's $65, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know you could do Fight Pass in Canada.
One question of On the Nose provides an answer that exceeds 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Was that what it was?
Yes.
Oh my god.
One answer exceeds that length.
That is crazy. I'll say likely.
A masterclass if you have ever seen it. I couldn't. I mean, it was just a carving unlike any other that you have served.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, 2 more here. Okay, I had to go deep. Are you ready?
Yes.
A sequel to the highly acclaimed children's book Mirth Meets Earth is released.
Didn't you ask me about Mirth Meets Earth already?
Maybe years ago.
I feel like we've talked about Mirth Meets Earth.
I bought Mirth Meets Earth.
Yes, that is amazing.
I gave it to my child when he was.
We were actually taling about that.
We actually have a photo with Mirth Meets Earth when you were up here, and we did an interview with you, me, and Wei.
That's right, in the hotel room.
Yes.
And then we went for Great Mediterranean next door.
Correct. Yes.
Remember that?
This was right by the former Air Canada Center, Scotiabank Arena now.
I was there for. It was It was December of 2019. I know that. What the hell?
Was it 19 or was it a pay-per-view? Was it a UFC pay-per-view?
No, because it was 2018. December
Okay,
of 2018,
2018.
because it was my last time doing like the pre and post for ESPN before the deal started in January.
Right.
Joanna fought Valentina, and the main event was, man, Max. Was it Max again? Yeah, it was Max against. It was a Max masterclass. Maybe his last defense.
This will
Right?
bother me. Yeah, it was definitely Max. I'm blanking on this. This was
Max,
it was the Ortega fight.
Max Ortega, right? And Valentina against Joanna, right?
That's right, Valentina and Joanna. Sorry, I blanked on this one because I wasn't credentialed, so I had to.
Oh yeah, screw that.
Look at this card here: Gunnar Nelson, Alex Oliveira, Thiago Santos, Jimmy Manua.
Oh yeah,
The late Elias Theodoro on this card against Eric Anders, won by split decision. Alexander Rakic was in the Fight Pass opener that night.
Wow, against who?
Devin Clark. Anyway,
I'll say likely.
Okay, you might have inside knowledge.
No, but I just feel like it's a kind of dick thing to say unlikely, you know?
The Parlay Pals remain at 3 members all year long.
Poor Frankie. No, he'll be back.
So you guys were going through a slump, and then you cut out Frank. And
I mean, it's a great storyline, you have to admit. I mean, we go through the slump, we cut him out, then we go on the winning streak. Couldn't have scripted this any better.
I sense his desire to be part of the Parlay Pals.
Oh yeah.
So I hope
he muted us on our text thread. It's a whole thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Do we stay at 3 all year?
Oh no, I said unlikely. He'll be
unlikely.
Back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Frank gets back into the mix. Okay. Well, there you go. That is our list.
That's the last one. That's amazing.
That was the last one. But for this 10th anniversary, we're going to do a special game. This will be quick. We're not going to keep you too long here. The game is very simple, Ariel. You have amassed a lot of relationships in this industry. Last year we played green versus blue regarding their text message versus
iPhone
I forgot about response.
That was great. I love that game.
But this year's game is simply called Naughty or Nice. Is this person on your naughty list or your nice list for their actions in 2022?
So for the previous year, you know, it's
for
a
the
fun
previous
one?
year.
iMessage or like text versus WhatsApp is a fun one too.
Oh, okay. WhatsApp. I love WhatsApp. It's
WhatsApp is the best. But there's some people who are strictly WhatsApp communicators as opposed to other, like the Europeans, some of them don't use text.
You know what's a little weird is that in your phone book, like you can open up WhatsApp and you see who has it in your phone book.
Yeah.
I almost feel it's a little bit too aggressive to just message them out of nowhere on this other app that I've never communicated to them before. And just like, hey, I'm on WhatsApp.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay.
All right. Naughty or nice?
We're going to start off with Jake Paul. Naughty or nice in 2022. This is your
Is
list.
it my relationship with him?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This is not them in general. This is you specifically. You have to put these under one column or the other.
I think he's been nice. You know, we had the little back and forth, clear 10-7. He backed off. So I think he was nice.
Is that the experience? Is that people, it's
I mean,
win or learn. That is the mantra.
They do go quietly into the night for the most part.
It is sometimes crickets. Eddie Hearn.
Oh, to me?
Many
Quite
in-studio appearances, sometimes withheld some news from you, but nonetheless, seems to be a good rapport.
I enjoy. Actually, they recently announced that they're coming back February 4th, so hopefully he'll stop by again. I enjoy a good Eddie Hearn chat.
You know what's happening on February 4th is not just the CBS card, but here in Toronto, they're screening Wrestling with Shadows with Paul J., the director.
Wow.
And they're bringing Brett in on like Zoom.
Oh.
I was like, really? Anyway.
That's pretty cool. Are you going to go?
I might go to check that out.
One of my favorite movies. I see the poster right there.
I do. It's hard to see here, but Brett signed it and put like devil horns on Vince.
Come on.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And that's what he signed. Every poster he signed of these, he put the devil horns on Vince.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Dylan Dennis.
Oh, I was waiting for the question. Clown. I mean, naughty's being nice. Naughty's being nice, meaning like I'm being kind by calling him naughty. Yeah, of course, naughty.
Yes. If you missed the the sit down interview. I encourage you to watch the whole thing, but if you are constrained by time, there is a 2-minute best of hits. This could have been an Ultimate Knockouts release back in the day.
The crazy
on
thing is,
DVD.
he thinks he got the best of me. He thinks he actually came out looking good, which is truly bizarre.
The sunglasses line was that seemed to be the one that stuck with a lot of people. Okay,
Larry David, shout out.
Pat McAfee.
Oh yeah. You know, I'm still not quite sure what happened there. I'll say this. I'm going to put Pat in the. Okay, this is personal, right? This is personal.
Yes.
This is not
This is you. This is not reflective.
I'm putting Pat in the naughty list, if only because I saw him at Money in the Bank. We took a selfie, and he cleared up sort of why I've been, I guess, at this point, blackballed from his show. And as he was leaving, I've never said this before, as he was leaving, he said, "You're going to be on soon. We're going to fix this."
Ooh,
and I said, "All right." Yeah.
Did he tell you he was going to UFC that night with Vince
No.
McMahon?
No.
That was a very interesting appearance.
That was weird.
That was in the midst of the whole scandal.
Yeah.
I think it was very strategic of putting Vince that he is moving on from all of this. I thought it was just interesting the whole way that played out.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, that whole week was kind of funny because of them both being in the same, city, which is super, super rare.
Mm-hmm. And WWE having to move from Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
That's what they booked first, and then
it was
had to go
crazy.
to
the whole thing was crazy.
venue.
Yeah.
I know this one. Your interview was not this year, but I'm still going to put her on the list. Sasha Banks.
I mean, I had one interaction with her, and it was after she won at Mania. I interviewed them backstage, her and Naomi, when
That's right. They won the tag titles.
And someone told me, one of the producers at BT told me it was her first time winning at Mania. She was like 0 for 7. So to me, she was nice. Like, she didn't bring up, she spoke to me, so I can't put her on the naughty list.
Yeah, I believe me, I've had enough experiences that I give a lot of them a pass when they come on, and it's so many of them, they're just wired that way. You see, now that WWE's experimenting with these press conferences and they come in, it's like I feel a lot of these talents, they don't know what they're doing. Like, it's airing on the WWE YouTube. Yeah. It's like, am I playing The Miz, or am I supposed to be?
Yeah, those ones are, those are a work in progress. I do like them. I mean, I often find that the most interesting aspect of those are when Triple H speaks, or, Tony speaks, right? Like when the boss speaks, because he can determine. I do think it's a nice new wrinkle to the business. And by the way, I don't dislike her for that. It was just a crappy interview. Like, it's not personal, right? I don't even think she knows who I am, to be honest. So I wish
she gets on the nice list. True Geordie.
True Geordie. That's an interesting one. I mean, not a great year for him towards the end. Are you referring to our tweet back and forth?
Yes. He gave his analysis of the Patty Pimblett situation.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty whack, if you ask me. He called me disingenuous. I think he was trying to play both sides, but I felt like he was more on that side, so I'll put him on the naughty list. I mean, I don't think he had his facts right. And then he was claiming that I don't ask Connor the same questions. Like, what are you talking about, man?
I feel you're going to get
me,
more.
by the way. He DM'd me, by the way, to be like, bro, I'm a fan. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm a fan too. But like, what are you calling me disingenuous for? Like, what was I disingenuous about? He actually said, by the way, that he misused that word.
Okay. I mean,
I'm waiting for the public apology.
Darren Till.
Naughty. Not cool.
Yeah,
I won't forget it.
Ariel remembers.
Yes.
Okay, this one, like, I don't know what the answer will be here. Matt Serra.
I mean, is there an irrelevant category? No, I mean, wait. I mean, he's just like irrelevant to me. Man, some people just change. But we're cool. I have no issues with Matt. So, I mean, nice. By the way, I don't mean he's irrelevant to the world of MMA, like to my life. Like, I have no connection.
This is all specific to you.
Yes. But I'll say nice because, by the way, is UFC filtered still a thing? I'm not even making a joke here.
I would be the wrong person to.
Okay. I don't see tweets about it. If it is, God bless.
When you dubbed it that has been like an earworm for me, where it's just like I can't not think of you renaming it as well. But I do hope for the day one more time when joining us on Skype, Ariel.
Sarah, I mean,
you guys had great
we did
rapport with one another.
Yeah.
So you're putting him down as
Nice.
nice. Okay. Josh the Punk Thompson.
Ah, was that this year, the back and forth? Or I think it was end of last year. That being said, naughty. Another guy, like just, uh, I'll leave it at that.
Jeff Blair.
Jeff Blair. I think I'm in his good graces. We're cool. I mean, he doesn't have me on the show, but he doesn't do a show. He does baseball only.
Yeah.
No, we're cool.
Five 590 has seen so many changes.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know who's the star at 590, by the way? Like their number one star that I think they should use him more is JD Bunkus.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know JD Bunkus?
I don't know him personally. No, he's doing the morning show.
He was morning. Well, first he was on the
Dude,
Good Show.
They changed their morning show.
I know.
Like I changed.
Then he went
clothes.
morning show. Now he's on, I think, at 10. His show is called the JD Bunkus Podcast, which I told him I hate. It's on the radio and it's called the JD Bunkus Podcast. I mean, what the hell is that? They just call it the JD Bunkus Show and then make a podcast of it. Anyway, I think he's the best. He's also a wrestling MMA guy too, so he's their best guy in my opinion.
Few more here. Tony Khan.
To me, I'll say naughty. I mean, it was. What did you think of the interview, by the way?
To be honest, so I knew you were interviewing him, and I got your opinion of the interview before I heard it. So
Yeah.
I was kind of colored by that. I thought you were harder on it. That you can take certain parts, and I'm sure you can have that opinion. I thought you got more out of him than a lot of interviews that I have heard with Tony Khan, especially towards the end when he was speaking about Nick Khan. So I listened to it, and it was like there was stuff in here that you could take from, but I can also understand the frustration, and I think many people can sympathize with you that like Tony Khan is not going to disclose stuff, and it's very frustrating at times where he is just a fortress.
It was so easy to dance around some of that stuff, like but they just be like, I'm not going to talk about that in like a defiant way, and then the whole thing of, go read that tweet. What's that tweet? It was just like it felt very childish,
Well, it was. Does he go down on the naughty list this year?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, we will see.
And then I saw a tweet where he's like, someone said something about Ariel not having grace, and he's like, "You can't buy that." I don't know what it was. I was like, "What are you doing, man? You got bigger fish to fry."
Tito Ortiz.
To me,
yeah, you personally.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep having to. Nice. No interactions.
This is like a good size on both sides here. You have not just
we're good. We've
done
been
one direction. It's interesting.
Yeah, ceasefire.
Okay. Brendan Schaub. Where are we at?
What do you think?
I would have believed as of like a month ago. I feel you might have leaned nice. I think like there was a ceasefire.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you reignited it. Well, I shouldn't say you were reacting, and I imagine this is going where people assume it is going. So
hell yeah.
We will put you down for that. Two more here, okay? Patty Pimblett.
I mean, easiest one. Just that interview is going to age so poorly on so many different fronts. It's just an amazing thing. Yeah, obviously. One of the in all my years of doing this now, like one of the more disappointing turn of events, right? Like a guy that you have a relationship with that is like a rock solid relationship that evolves into this. What a week.
Yeah, that was one where I basically seen no one like significantly like argue the opposite side. Like it was such a like the receipts you produced. I mean, can you like is a lot of that just spur of the moment? What was going into that response? Because dude, that was like you need like an accounting firm to back up.
No,
like
it was
that.
super easy. I mean, by the way, I didn't have a lot of time either, right? Because I saw
this was out that morning. The morning of your shit. It's not even like it was the day before or something.
A and B, I saw it later. Like I saw it at 9:15 a.m. My show's at 1. And as I said, PT texts me, I'm about to go on the Peloton for 25, 30 minutes. So, and then I usually leave at like 10:15. Then I drive. And so when I went on when I saw it, I'm like, I'm not even thinking about this. It really the thoughts started to go in my mind at like 10:15 on the 1 hour drive to the studio. So I don't know. It just all kind of flowed out. I didn't really have a lot of time to think about it.
And the last one. This is an oldie, and we just want an update on where it is.
Wow.
Hector Lombard.
Wow. Hector Lombard, UFC 149. Top 10 most terrifying moments of my life. No, nice. No interactions, so we're all good.
Well, there you go. A balanced naughty or nice list from Ariel Helwani, which I would expect nothing less from.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that would just be, oh, nice.
No,
But we get
of course.
I think more naughties here than nices. So anyway.
Oh, really?
I think so. Here we got 2, 4, 6, 8 naughties.
Couple that you missed that I'm surprised about.
Any you want to add to the bin? I mean,
there's a couple. Tony Schiavone took a shot or two. Which, it's all good. I'm not sure about this.
You did catch some ammo in the pro wrestling world this past year.
Yeah, but I feel like for the most part, okay. I saw Cornette had my back. No,
I didn't hear Cornette's response.
Cornette had a whole breakdown. Schiavone was, but I mean, he worked for him, right? The guy was doing high school football for 2 decades before he was brought back. Like, what is he gonna do? Defend me or him? Come on. He was doing the local weather in Marietta, Georgia, for goodness sakes.
Ariel Helwani, may the bridges you burn light your path in the future, as a wise man once said. It is a brand new year, and Ariel, thank you. So that first year we did this, it was like 15 minutes of just likely or unlikelies that I literally came up with at the top of my head, because on my way to the studio that day, it just came to me like, let's change this up a bit instead of a standard interview. And I came up with this game, and I just threw them at you off the top of my head. And now it's here's an hour and 20 minutes later.
And one time we did it as I was driving home from Bristol in the middle of the night. It was dark. I mean, you talked about you going through multiple regimes. I too have gone through multiple regimes with this show.
You've gone through a lot of changes, but the one constant has been your appearances here, where you have never turned this down. You have always come back. We greatly appreciate your not just the man that headlined the first and to this point only post podcast day, but also a hallmark here with the MMA
Yet to be invited
show.
to the Christmas special, though. People have mentioned this to me.
Yeah, you were invited last year and did appear on the Christmas show.
Don't recall that. Was I on the Christmas special?
You were on it, yes, because you had pointed this
out. Why did I get invited back?
I have explained this to you in the past, that I felt like the double invite is pushing my luck a bit too much.
Not only that, didn't get invited to the anniversary special in Newark, which I contributed to. But we can save that discussion for a different day. Listen, I'm not going to bring up these things. You being on the naughty list that you didn't ask about. I mean, was there not a thing?
Hey, naughty or nice, Robert Pearson.
Oh, yeah, my guy. Of course, nice.
A wonderful man. The man who put together our anniversary special.
Oh, yeah, legend.
The beautiful Newark, New Jersey.
Yes.
I didn't see you at Full Gear.
I was not at Full Gear. I was too bothered by the fact that I wasn't invited to the anniversary show before, so I felt embarrassed. I did go to an AEW event, by the way.
You went to Grand Slam?
Arthur Ashe, yeah.
Would you go again?
I don't get any credit for that.
What time did you get out of there that night?
Did I stay for the entirety of Rampage? Negative.
Yeah,
I was there. I left after the Action Bronson match.
It ended at about like 12:40 a.m.
Yeah, it was ridiculous
on a Wednesday night.
And it was like
tough.
an hour and a half from my home. It was crazy.
I wonder how many wrestling shows you get to this year. Obviously, with the exclusive that you have re-upped with BT Sport. I mean,
run with that.
Yeah, so we'll see if you make your way to Saudi Arabia.
No, I didn't go to. It's usually like Rumble, Mania, Money in the Bank, blah blah blah. The big ones, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. I didn't go to. Oh, but that was a weird time. It was Thanksgiving.
That's true. So maybe I will see you in Montreal. Maybe.
I put it as a 50-50 at the moment. I actually would like to go, and it's during President's Day weekend here in the States, I think, but I'm not sure yet.
All right. Well, Ariel, we have kept you long enough. Thank you so much for doing this for the last 10 years. And,
yes.
I hope that you will return once again next year. We will revisit all of these predictions for the year. We will see who is naughty or nice over the next year, and who comes at the king. You best not miss.
That's right.
Ariel Helwani,
Amen.
Mr. 10-7 himself, and that is going to wrap up the MMA Prediction Show.